What's going on, guys? Just wanted to bring to your attention some of the latest updates that's been happening to the Quant Trading app Discord. Most importantly, the QTA alerts right here. Now, what we're looking at is the first iteration of the Quant Trading app alerts. Eventually, as early as Q1 of 2022, these alerts will be a little bit more detailed, but for now, they tell us the ticker, what level they have hit from the algo, as well as its strength. Now, the strength is currently in beta, but to keep it simple, the higher the score, so 100% being the highest, the more bullish confidence the algo has in the ticker. So in other words, the algo is only 35.5% confident in IWM bouncing off of 2 sigma support. So if we scroll right here, we can see the green usually means it's hitting support. The deeper the green means it's 2 sigma. The lighter the green means it's either a buy zone or if it's just hitting its weekly level. Blue usually means it's hitting its retracements. And if we just scroll and try to find something that hit resistance, it was a pretty bad week in the market. So a lot of things are hitting support versus hitting resistance. So here we can see this deep red means it's 2 sigma. So right here, Apple hit 2 sigma. As we can see, its strength that the algo was rating Apple was 78%. In other words, it was fairly confident that it was going to continue. If we see something hitting 2 sigma resistance, meaning it's come here and we get a notification from the algo and its strength is below 50, that would mean it's more than likely going to pull back. So just keep that in mind. Again, this is currently in beta, and once it's done, the beta will be removed from there, but it's calculating a lot of different information and it's aggregating it all, making it very simple for us so we have one number to look at. Now, I just want to go over for you guys, just so you understand that Quant Trading app, in a sense, is the community is not necessarily a bunch of people calling out different trade alerts. We want the trade ideas to be coming from the algo itself, because these are based on a lot of quantifiable information and data that we as humans cannot process in real time as price action is happening. So all of these alerts that you see here are essentially more than likely going to be some sort of trade idea. So these right here would be 4 of the most recent alerts that came through, and these are from Friday. I'm recording this video on a Sunday, and as you can see, the timestamps are right here at the bottom of the alert itself. If you don't have access to Thinkorswim, or you're not currently at your desk but you are on the road, you can actually click this right here and it will pull up Bank of America on the QTA site, and you'll be able to actually see the levels, because sometimes having a visual reference helps. So as we can see right here, this would be 2 sigma for Bank of America, and it hit right as the market closed. Now, getting an alert this late into the week is pretty much irrelevant unless you're looking to scalp this move on shares, which would be equity, because trying to buy options 5 minutes before the market closes is pretty much probably not a good idea unless you're really at your desk and you're looking to just scalp this. But as you can see, yes, this did work out, but it wasn't necessarily the greatest trade. So let's just continue up the list and let's look at the IWM. If I were to click this right here, it pulls it up on the chart and we can see exactly as the levels present themselves to us from the algo. Let's make this full screen for a second, and we can see right here, stretch this out, and this is when the alert would have went out. So now let's just jump over to Thinkorswim, so we can actually see it a little bit larger and what most of us use to trade. So the alert goes out right here, and for a 0-day trade, you might be asking if there's anything you can do with this. Yes, of course. Options that expire in an hour or 30 minutes or so before the market closes means they're very cheap, and if you use something like VWAP maybe as your target, or if you want to choose a call option that you think is going to expire in the money, you can actually get some really good trade ideas right at the end of the day, especially with this wick rejection, which is something I encourage you guys, if you're new to Quant Trading app, this is usually the type of price action that you want to see when the levels are hit, because this is showing that there are market participants in the area and it gives you a clear level to use as your stop loss. So let's just jump over here and actually compare the price action to the option. So on the left hand side, we have the price action. This is the 5-minute time frame, and on the right hand side, we have the option. We're looking at the 2:14 call, so this call right here. And as we can see, when the notification went out, which would have been 1:03 Eastern time, if we just come back to, if we scroll back to the Discord, we can see at 3:01 p.m. So heading back to the chart, this would be 3:01 p.m. right here. So alert goes out right here. This call option is going for 34 cents. And on the first initial pop, pretty much back up to VWAP, this option was up 170%. So that's one alert in which would have already yielded a really good return if you were able to catch this trade. And you have at least 5 to 6, 7 minutes or so as price stayed around this level to decide if you wanted to get into it. You can just put a limit order out for about 34, 35 cents. And again, this would have worked out. 3 contracts here means you're risking about $100 and change. And if you're trading this late into power hour on a Friday and you're trading same day expirations, you can pretty much be saying you'd pretty much be telling yourself you're risking either your whole position or half of the position. So if you're using a $100 position size, you're risking 50 bucks. And in this case, you're talking about a nice 170% win. But if we go right back to the Discord, and again, not trying to cherry pick any of these, I'm just going right up the list. Let's take a look at Disney. If we hop back to Thinkorswim, I'll put Disney up on the left-hand side here. And this would be as the alert went out, just as it hits the weekly support level right here. So boom, that level hits. Let's take a look at the option on the right hand side, and this would be the 145 call, which would be this strike right here. Because again, the assumption might be I want to trade a call that's more than likely going to expire in the money just as the market closed, and I want to use a position size that I'm comfortable risking. So this is right when the alert went out at 2:51 Eastern time right here. This contract is going for 30 cents. And as we can see on the first initial push to VWAP, if you use this as your profit target, you're talking about 145% return. And if you were risky enough to hold until the end of the day, you're talking about a 370% return. This is $30 turning into $140 by simply getting this notification right here. And this is happening in real time all day long as the market is open. So we don't necessarily need to be calling out trade ideas. The whole real intent behind Quant Trading App, again, is just to have the algo tell us what we should be looking at and where we should be looking at them. We cross-reference it with the other algo that we're currently using, which is TradyTix, which is right in here. I've made another video on this, or I'll make a dedicated video just on looking at the TradyTix algo. So let's just scroll up right here. And this is how we can get a gauge for the option sentiment. So if we see some sort of divergence, like this is where Zoom's price is, but the TradyTix option flow is saying that the options market is pricing in Zoom being something like a pair, and we get a notification that the Quant Trading App is saying that Zoom is in the buy zone, and then you check this and you see this type of divergence, you can expect Zoom to probably bounce or gap up the next day. So if I just jump back to the QT alerts, let's just continue now and take a look at Microsoft, as the notification went out that Microsoft hit 2 Sigma again on Friday. At this case, we're talking about, as we come right here, this is right when the alert went out at this first initial touch. Now we can see that there were buyers here. Look at all these rejections. This price was struggling to actually stay below it or continuing to sell off below it. If we jump over here and let's take a look at the option, we'll pull up the 320 call. So 320 call, this is the 320 strike right here. So you can see at the time the notification went out at 1:36 p.m. This call was going for 75 cents and holding for this initial put and holding for this push into the market close. 160% return, 290% return if you were lucky enough again to continue holding this. Now if this contract was too expensive, $75, you didn't feel like risking it, let's just take a look at another strike, which would have been a little bit crazy, but this is the 322.5. So this would be 322.5. So pretty much VWAP right here. You're talking about this call option going from 20 cents. So I'm assuming if you're trading a contract this cheap, you're willing to risk the whole position. 5 of these, it's just $100. And yes, you would have been down pretty bad at one point, and that's just because of time decay, even though Microsoft was continuing to go up. But in this case, you end up getting this lucky push right here and buying this option, you know, even down here to here. This is 1,000% return, which again is nuts. More than likely, this is where you would probably be building your position if you didn't stop out, you know, taking a loss down here. But that's why I wouldn't encourage trading an option this far out the money when it only has a few minutes left or an hour or two left in the market open. So we jump back to the Discord again, guys. You definitely want to be paying attention to what's coming through right here, and it doesn't mean you have to take every single trade because everybody is different. I can tell you guys right now, some of the more recognizable names will be the ones that are more accurate. So something like Microsoft, Disney, these are legacy brands, whereas Upstart is new. It has only been on the market, it hasn't even been on the market for a full 2 years, and it's a momentum stock. So if we were to click this just to get an idea, so you guys can see, Upstart more than likely won't even remain in QTA for the time being. It's in here right now because there's a lot of momentum behind it, and there's been a request from some of you guys to add it. But here we have, this is it when the alert would have went out right in here, and yes, it did bounce. So if we were to take a look, let's take a look, pull it up on the Quant on Thinkorswim, and then let's actually pull up an option right here. This is not the 0-day option, but this is the following week right here, I believe. So yes, so this would be December 10th, not the December 3rd. We're talking about an option going from about $9 as the alert went out, and from here to here it was going for $12. So you're talking about a $300 win or a 35% return on your investment, just getting a notification again from right here and holding for here or holding for here. And by the way, guys, just because it's an alert, it doesn't mean that every single trade is going to work, because nothing is 100% in the stock market. It just means you should probably be taking a look at it as there's more than likely going to be some sort of trade opportunity. If we take this for example, here goes the SPY. This is the same day here on Friday. If we use this as an example, as an alert goes out right here, we can see it was hit here later in the week. There was a little bit of a double bottom on the 5-minute time frame, or these are called tweezer, some sort of a tweezer pattern. It did bounce, and then ultimately we sliced right through it. Right now, later in the week, we get some sort of a notification here because this will be the first time that it ends up touching the weekly support level, and we do get a bounce. But let's just say you were to buy this and you put a stop loss below this level and you didn't take profit as it was approaching VWAP or whatever reason. Let's just say you thought, in this case I was actually in this trade, so I'm actually speaking from a little bit of personal experience. I was looking for the SPY to come back up to at least here and even put in some sort of absurd crazy rally going into the close on Friday because the market was already so beaten up. But as you can see, that did not happen, and I ended up taking my stop loss down here. But even as a level breaks on the retracements, the first retracement to these levels, there's more than likely also going to be some sort of a trade opportunity. So if you ever take a trade on an alert, this is not even a hammer candle. It's just because I had the conviction, I had my own bias and my own belief that the SPY was going to bounce here on Friday. As you can see, we ended up actually closing here. And even if we were to just zoom out and actually look at these levels, this is where the SPY gapped up to on a Monday. And it's no coincidence that it struggled here. It closed here on Monday just about. And this was actually where we met resistance on the Wednesday before we sold all the way off. And this is actually where it almost looked like the bleeding was going to stop. But ultimately, we closed right at this level. So this right here is showing you guys the power of having these levels. Now, how do you actually trade them? I'm letting you know you can use the levels as they break. If you're in as your stop loss, you just keep your stop tight, and that will allow you to take multiple trades throughout the week. And if they don't work, as long as you have even a 50% accuracy or even a 40% win rate, if you're just taking your stop losses at the right price with proper risk management, you'll be more than consistently profitable. And if you were upset that you did take a loss on this and it did retrace back to the level, you do have another decision to make, because you need to decide if you want to take it short, which you can. In this case, I would not look to take this trade short here on a normal day, just because I look for confluence. So if VWAP was also down here and then the SPY retraced to this level, that I would consider to be a really good setup to then take short. So I use VWAP here or the 2-day anchor VWAP as my confluence levels. And you can also watch the getting the introduction to the zones to actually get a little bit more information on how you want to be trading around these levels in addition to the alerts, because there's different setups around the alerts. Sometimes the intraday zones line up perfectly with the weekly level, and whenever you get that double confluence, if there's VWAP in there too, then you have a really high odds for a trade to either get rejected at the level, or if it's selling off, to bounce off of the level. But again, guys, not every single alert, it's not intended to take every single trade coming here. This is absolutely insane, and not every style of trader will be taking the same type of trade, because here we have Google, it hit the buy zone. So if we take a look at Google actually on the chart, and we can see Google hit the buy zone earlier in the day, but you can see this type of rejection coming right here. That right there can be an indication that, hey, I should probably be looking to trade Google. Now, buying the calls naked that expire in a few hours on Google is a little bit risky. So you might be the type of person that instead of buying calls might do some sort of put credit spread, also known as a bull put spread, which means if we get this notification here, you might be saying, hey, I'm just going to short the at the money put because Google is going to close above that strike price. So if you end up doing something like that, if we take a look at the 2830, let's pull it up right here. Here is that put, and now we're talking about the put going for $16.50, we'll say, at the time in which the notification went out, and then it closed at $2. So that means if you were to sell this put, you're talking about 100% return by the time the market had closed. And again, if you're doing it as some sort of a spread, it would have meant you would have had to buy another strike price. So assuming you shorted this put right here and you went long this put, you made it 10 points wide. Your stop loss is if Google comes below this level, you're probably risking risking 30-40% of your credits to receive anywhere from 100% of your credit if you're going to hold until the last 10 minutes of the market, or at least a 50% return. So there's multiple ways to trade these alerts. I myself like to run certain spreads. I'm the type of trader that doesn't necessarily always buy naked options, so it's not about following one individual trader in the chat. If we come here, if I see any type of really good trades that I think the risk is pretty low, I will post it in here. But for the most part, I'm looking for the same trades that you guys will be looking for. We all get the same notifications, we all have the same levels at the exact same time. So to conclude, if you are new and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all of the notifications that might be coming in, stick to the tickers of the companies that you're pretty familiar with, as well as within your risk parameters, which means Google is not for a stock that everybody can trade because the options are very expensive. But something like Apple, these options are not expensive. The same thing with Microsoft, Goldman Sachs. The indexes are great. So the Dow Jones, the IWM, the SPY, and the QQQ, which would be the NASDAQ, those are some really good places that you want to be if you're now starting out, especially if you're new to Quant Trading App and you don't want to overextend yourself and definitely take on too much risk as you get a little bit comfortable. So pay attention to what you look for. And then lastly, just whenever these levels are hit and we get an alerts like this, because this is an alert here that Upstart actually retraced to the buy zone. So whenever we get a retracement to the buy zone, if you see some sort of a wick like this, that ends up presenting a great trade because now it comes back below VWAP. You can short this or buy puts with a stop loss over this level, and then your target could be the intraday level, or it could be all the way back down to 2 sigma or the 2-day anchor VWAP. There's 3 different places here to take your profit. But at the end of the day, this is what I look for. The same thing if we come right here and we see what type of candle is this. We have a nice doji right here. So this right here is an indication that there's probably some sort of a trade that you might want to take. We come back to the chart. Google, nice strong wick rejection. That's showing that in itself is confirmation that there are buyers here. And this is the 5-minute time frame, so I'm not talking about a smaller time frame. On the 1-minute time frame, you will see a lot of different dojis and hammers across these levels, but just know I look for hammers. Keep it that simple, guys, and it's actually not that difficult. You just sit back, wait, let the alert come to you. Look for confirmation after the 5-minute candle close. Set your stop loss below the candles if you want, or you can open it up a little bit more. You can use this below this candle if it's this case, if you're getting in around here. And that, in a sense, is one of the simplest ways to use the Quant Trading App alerts. And as eventually the alerts will give a lot more information, including which strike price you might want to be looking at, the open interest, the strength meter will be refined a lot more. It will actually include options flow right within it. But for now, there's a ton of trade ideas, and just manage your risks accordingly, meaning take your stop loss and make sure your position size is right, so that way you can give it maybe a little bit of a wider stop loss. And a wider stop loss usually means a higher success rate because you're not getting stopped out too early. So if you have any questions, guys, feel free to contact one of the mods in the support channel, or just post in the gold chat or post in the questions tab. So I would be happy to help you out. Look forward to hearing from you. Take care.